Hi everyone. Today I'll be explaining about the router transformation using Informatica Power Center tool. In my previous session I have covered Informatica architecture and by relating with the day-to-day operations of Informatica Power Center tool. Today in this session we will learn how to perform router transformation using Informatica tool. So I'll be giving you a real-time scenario to perform the router transformation. Here there is a scenario where customer want to transfer the source table items into target tables. Take a real scenario. There is a supermarket, very big supermarket, which contains almost thousands of the items. On daily basis they will be purchasing. So these items are maintained under a table called items_1. This is one source table. Now the customer wants to load all these thousands of items into two target tables depending upon the business rule. What is the business rule here? Let's say the price of the item, if the price of the item is more than 50, then those items need to be loaded into costly_items table. If the price is less than 50 rupees, then the item records need to be loaded under cheap_items table. So this is the scenario which I am going to explain throughout the session to perform the transformation and load the records into target tables. Okay. So now this is my designer, Power Center designer. So so first of all, to perform transformation we need to learn few things in the designer. So this is my source analyzer, and this is my target designer, and this is my mappings designer. So first in source analyzer, let's say if I click on source analyzer, you can see this source option is being enabled, and if I click on target designer, you can see target option is enabled. If I click on mappings and transformation is enabled. So now first we need to import the source data tables. Okay, so before importing I want to show you the actual source table and target tables, how it looks like. So I have created using SQL Server 2000. Already I have created 3 tables. Let me retrieve these tables, but this is source table, these 2 are target tables. Okay, I retrieved this. Let me retrieve again. Yeah, you see here the target table items_1 contains multiple records, but source table contains multiple records, but the target table does not have any records. Now our aim is to load all these records into 2 different target tables depending upon the business rule. So this is our initial tables, how looks like. Okay, after transformation we will observe again after transformation how these tables will be reflected. So now, as I told you, in source analyzer, go to source option and select import from database to import the source table into Informatica Power Center designer. Okay, so I clicked on import tables. Now you need to provide the credentials of your SQL Server database. Okay, so you can see here it's imported all the tables, not imported, it's showing all the tables underlying under SQL Server. So this is our source table. So now we have importing, we are selecting the source table, click OK. Okay, the table item already exists. Okay, no problem. So that item is already exist. That's why what we are doing, just we can just cancel it. Okay, it's already there. That's why it's saying the item is already exist. That's fine. So you can see in target how to import the table. So now we have source in source table in sources, and click on target and see here import the target tables from SQL Server to Informatica. So select the import from database, give the credentials of SQL Server, click on connect. Now you can see, so these two tables we need to import. Okay, here you can see there are no tables. Once I click on OK, it gives you see cheap items, costly items. Two tables are being imported into Informatica. Done. So once we import the target, now go to mapping designer. So now we need to map the, so right, in mappings, first see, select to create a mapping, you need to go to mapping options and select create option. So it's going to populate, it is going to ask you to provide the name of mapping. So here I am providing the name of mapping as m_router RTR underscore item separation. Okay, click OK. Now you can see here the mapping is being created, the new mapping. Now we start creating the mapping. First you need to select this source table and drag and drop into the mapping designer panel here. So here you can see two tables. What are these two tables? Two maps. Whenever you select the source and drop into the panel, the Informatica is by default, it is going to give us source qualifier along with the source table. Okay, done. So now we need to set a business rule. What is the business rule? Price. So depending upon the price, this particular source records must be loaded into targets, which we are going to put here depending upon the price. So that particular logic we need to make using transformation. So what is the new transformation? Router transformation. So now click on transformation, click on create. So here you can see lot of transformations in which we are using router transformation. Click here, enter the transformation name as router item separation, create. Okay, now you can see here the transformation, router transformation mapping. Now what we need to do, we need to select all these columns from source qualifier. And how to select? You can do right click, select all. Now drag and drop all columns to the router transformation. So it automatically maps all the columns here. Okay, item ID map it to source qualifier, again it map it to actual source. So let's say if you have any confusion where this particular item ID is mapped to, so now you need to right click, select link backward. That means you see the red color, highlighted red color link is the mapping of item ID. Okay, done. Now we need to set the filter conditions here. Okay, for business, for setting up the business rule. So double click on this, double click on the router transformation, and you will be getting, you can see here all the columns whatever we mapped from source qualifier and the data type and everything. And go to groups. Now we need to create two groups. What are two groups? Two groups are, one group is the records related to the price less than 50, another group is the records which are having the price more than 50. So here click enter. So here once you create the new group, it's going to populate a default group. So leave about this, no need to bother about the default group. So here the new group, I'm just renaming it as costly underscore items. Okay, and add one more group which is cheap underscore items. Okay, once you've done this, we need to add group filter conditions. What is the condition for costly items? So go to ports, select, now double click on price. So costly item, the formula should be greater than 50. Okay, now validate the formula. So you can see expression passed successfully. That means the formula is correct. Click OK. Click OK. Again for cheap item. For cheap item, what is the formula we need to add here? Click on price. The price should be less than 50. Okay, validate it. Expression passed successfully. Click OK and click OK. So we have created two filter conditions here with two groups. Now apply and click OK. So now you can see, previously we were just mapped these columns. Now we can see extra two groups are added in router transformation. Okay, which is costly items here, which is one group, and other group is cheap items. This is one more group. So default group is here, that you can just ignore. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to, so this is business rule we set for the router transformation. Now we need to map the target tables here. So here this is my one target table, this is another target table. First drag the target table, first target table cheap items, and drag the costly items target table, both the tables here. So now I'm going to shuffle here. This is costly items and cheap items. So once we drag the target tables into designer panel, now we need to map the target table. Okay, from transformation you can see, so this is costly items. That means these costly items columns need to be mapped to costly items target table. So just select all the columns and drag drop here. So you can see now here we have mapped all the costly items related columns to the target table. And cheaper items, you select all the cheaper items target, you see, so cheaper item columns, and drag and drop to the cheaper items target table. So there are two target tables, right? So that means here you can see we mapped source table to the qualifier, from qualifier to normal router transformation. So in router transformation we have created a logic. That means we have created two groups. One is costly items group, cheap items group, by providing the business logic with respect to price. Now these router transformation is being mapped to the two target tables where we need to load the data. So now we have finished preparing mapping. So now we need to save the mapping here. Click on repository and save the mapping. So once you save the mapping, you can see here parsing completed with no errors and item separation is valid. That means whatever we created, that is valid. Now you need to arrange this. Just right click and click arrange all. So you can, so by default it arranges, okay? So this is our mapping and save it. Okay, done. So once we create the mapping, now our aim is to create a workflow. How do we create a workflow? By using workflow manager. This is workflow manager. From here we can directly navigate to workflow manager. Click on this. So it's going to open the workflow manager. Click OK. Now this is my workflow manager where I will be having task developer, work designer, workload designer, workflow designer. So we are concerned about workflow designer. Click on this workflow designer and click on workflows and create a new workflow. So now it is going to populate to provide the name of the workflow. I am providing as a w_item separation. Now click OK. Here this is the start point of the workflow. Okay. So now we need to associate the session with the workflow. So now I am mapping the session. Click on this. Now you need to drop here the session. I dropped. So now these, once I drop the session, it's going to show me the mappings which we prepared just now. So this is our mapping, which is RT item separation. So that mapping also we can see here, right? So now I'm selecting that mapping and click OK. That means we have associated the session with the created mapping, right? So now this particular session is associated with the mapping which we created just now. Okay. So once we done this, we need to establish the connection. So how to establish the connection? Go to relational connections and click on relational. Once you click on relational, okay, I have already established the connection, so I am deleting this connection so that I can show you how to establish the new connection. Click on new. As I have installed Microsoft SQL Server on my system, I am selecting Microsoft SQL Server. Click on OK. Now it is going to populate. It's going to ask you to name the connection. Connection underscore tutorial. Okay. Now this is my username and password for SQL Server. Now I need to provide the database name and server name. What is my server name? Go to server manager. This is my server name. I'm copying this server name and this is my server name. I pasted here. Now click on OK. So here you see the new connection is established. Now close it. So now we have established the new connection for our workflow. Now we need to link this start point to the session. So how to link this start point to the session? This is link task. Click on this and drag and drop to session. So by this we have finished linking the start point to the session. Now we need to provide few more details to the session. Double click on this particular session. Once you double click, go to mappings and source. This is our source and these two are the targets which we mapped, right, in mappings. Now click on the source. Here you see in source I need to provide the connection just now whatever we established, right? So click on here. Now we established the new connection, which is connection underscore tutorial. I'm selecting that particular connection and click on OK. So it's done. Now go down and you need to provide the details of table. What is the source name table? Items underscore 1. This is my source table. Done. So no need to change any other values. Now go to target tables. Here in target table also you need to select the connection. Click OK. Now here all these values we can just keep as is. No need to change any values. So table name disk prefix. In my case this is dvbo. And what is the table name? Cheap underscore items. So done. Now go to the other target table and select the connection. Click OK. In the same way for second table also I am providing the prefix and the table name. Costly underscore items. Now by this we have completed the mapping values, setting the mapping values. Okay, now click on apply, click OK. So now our workflow is ready to perform the task. How to run the workflow? Right click on here. First we need to validate the workflow whatever we created. Just click on validate. So you see this is valid, the workflow is valid and the session is also valid. Now right click here, start task. Before executing the task I want to show you again the tables which we created. You see the source table is having values and the target tables does not have any values. Now we are going to load the data into target tables with the transformation, router transformation. Right click on this and click start task. Once I click the start, so before execution I need to save the workflow. Here repository and save. So you can see validation is completed, no errors and everything is done. Now right click, start task. After started the task. Once you start the task, so now it's opened our workflow monitor where I can monitor the status. So now it is connected, it is running. So this is success, this is success. That means our workflow successfully completed loading the data into target tables. So we can analyze more session logs as well. So click on get session log. So here you can see session log. So where I can see, here you see insert statement which has been taken by the Informatica tool, and also you can see here, you see this is for target table. There is one row which is requested and applied and affected. There is no rejected items. In costly items you can see 3 records being inserted for the request and applied 3 and affected 3. So this way you can analyze the results. Now you can minimize this. I'm closing these results. Okay, now what happened to our tables? We'll see. Now we will execute these tables again. We are retrieving the 2 tables. You see here, now you can see the target tables are having the records loaded with the records. How? You see the costly tables having the items which are having the price more than 50, and the cheaper table having the items with the price less than 50. So this is the way we can load the data. So in generally this is a very small records. We have taken very less records for just training purpose. In generally in real time thousands of the records, supermarket per day, thousands of the items will be there. So for 10 years you can imagine how many items will be stored on that table. So in ideal situation Informatica supports to load the around 500 to 600 million records we can perform transformation using Informatica. We can load the data for 500 to 600 million records. So that's why the Informatica is successful in our market. Okay, by this we have completed performing router transformation. So in future, in next session, I will be covering many other transformations. So you can see here how many transformations we are having. See, these are all the transformations, different transformations. So I will be explaining one by one transformation in future sessions. And one more thing I want to tell you here. Let's say if I run this task again, what happens to our table? I click on this task. Okay, see here, success, succeeded. So if I go to query analyzer and query this, you see the records are being duplicated again. So because we run this particular task twice, so it added it's loaded the records twice. So to avoid this particular risk, we can just go to double click on this sessions. Okay, go to mapping. In target table, you can define our pre-SQL. Before running the SQL, we need to provide the pre-SQL command. Delete from table cheap underscore items. Okay, in the same way here, delete from costly underscore items. Done. Apply, click OK. Now save this. Now again you run this particular task. Start task. So it succeeded. Now if you see the query analyzer, you see all the old records being deleted, and again it's loaded the records into target table. Okay, hope everyone understand the router transformation and the purpose of router transformation. So in coming session I will be explaining more and more sessions for you to understand different types of transformations. Thank you all.